Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Mary.
I'm Linda, and y'all, we're coming to y'all from a rainy East Texas morning.
Yes.
And Mary and her girls braved the elements to drive over here.
It really wasn't that bad. It rained really hard. A small, kind of a short distance.
Did you come the back way?
I came the back way. Yeah.
Okay.
And
thank God for that new bridge, right?
Yeah. It was dark. The clouds was dark right in Longview. But then it lightened up. The closer we got here, it lightened up. So I knew we was safe. But Chuck was worried about us. He called. He said, "Don't go to Jefferson. Don't go to Jefferson."
Mine was worried too.
Yeah. And but now to hear the girls tell it, they was scared to death. I'm not driving.
We'll tell more about that later. We want to get the cake in the oven.
That's the first thing Chuck said, "Who's driving?" I said, "Why you want to know?" It was me.
Mary's our little aggressive driver here. Y'all might not think grandma's aggressive, but this one is. Not me. Okay, so we are making a very easy Oreo cake this morning. This is something they could get in the kitchen and make with their kids, their grandkids, even little kids could get involved with that. And we got the oven preheated at 350. We're using the Secret Center cake pans, but we're not using the Secret Center part. It's just going to be a very simple cake.
Yeah.
Y'all know when I use a cake mix, I sift the cake, the cake,
the batter,
powder, whatever it is. Now the chunks that you see in there, because I'm actually using an Oreo cake mix. You can use any cake mix, and I think I put that in the recipe. It can be vanilla chocolate, any kind you want to make that would be good with Oreo cookies. Now, if you didn't want to use Oreo cookies, you could use vanilla cookies, like a vanilla sandwich cookie or something. But this is Oreo. So we're going to get started and get this in the oven real quick because we have the, we're going to make a Cool Whip filling and frosting, and then we're going to make some real Cool Whip to kind of do a little decorating. I forgot to get a bag in here. I'll have to run in there and get that in a minute. Okay, as many times as I try to have it all out, I still leave something out.
That's the way it is with me too, Linda. So
we're using Imperial Sugar, and we are sponsored by Imperial Sugar. This extra fine sugar makes a big difference when you're cooking. We used it a long time before we ever were sponsored by it.
Right.
And when you're doing a cake mix, there's a few things you can do to kind of make that cake mix a little better, taste more like a homemade cake.
Right.
First of all, you use milk instead of water. And I'm not adding an extra egg, but you can add an extra egg or an extra egg yolk. But I'm just using the regular amount of eggs. So, Mary, if you
want me to go ahead and add the flour and
sugar?
Yeah,
go ahead and put the flour and sugar in it. And this doesn't take long to mix up, and it's not a heavy batter, so I'm going to use my Corbis mixer here. And I always keep my batteries charged in this charger.
It's just a small amount of sugar she's adding in here. And the same amount of flour,
the same
right?
amount of flour, yes. All purpose. And then it's just basic ingredients for a cake mix. Follow your package directions, except we're putting this extra sugar and flour in it. And then we've got milk, eggs. We're going to put a little bit of vanilla in here.
Are you ready to go ahead and put in
my liquid in here, because we're going to get this in the oven really quick.
All right, you want me to go ahead and put the eggs in there?
Yeah, eggs and oil. You just put it all in at once, and vanilla.
Or you going to bust the eggs in here first?
Yeah, I'd like to have them cracked.
Don't get smart with me, Linda. If you remember correctly, I started to break the eggs in your batter one time, and you said, put it in a cup.
Yeah, I
did. Remember that.
I did.
Because I don't always...
Used to, when you use fresh eggs, you never broke an egg in your batter.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know if that egg was going good or not.
Right.
But that several years ago, I guess it was around 2000, some of Mike's family was down here when he was having surgery, and we were on our way home from the hospital. It was real late at night, and his youngest brother, they liked to fish, and I knew what he meant, but I just couldn't help it. I just kept saying it. He said, "Do y'all have water?" And what he meant was, "Do y'all have lakes?" But I said, "Yeah, Tim, we have running water." But it was kind of saying, but he didn't know me that well, so he, I think it kind of got off with him. But I thought it was funny.
I guess I'm being too slow. I
That's all right.
forgot
You
to
put the
put
lid back
the
on
oil in there.
it. Okay. Now this particular cake mix has got Oreos in it. If it didn't have, you could crush up a few and put it in.
Well, I thought that's what you done it first. You use the yellow cake mix and crumble up your own.
I got that on clearance.
And they already have the Oreos in it.
Yes, it is. It doesn't take long at all to mix this up. So if you just use a regular cake mix, you can.
You threw it all this, Linda.
Yes, I am. Thank you. So I'm just going to kind of divide this batter. See, it's just a batter that's got cake mix, and there you can kind of shape these. All right, kind of. This is kind of a thin batter.
It is thin, isn't it? You probably need a little more of this.
Yeah, I do. I wasn't sure if this is a 15-ounce cake mix, so it's not quite as big. You think the rest of it in there?
I guess so. Yeah, put that in there. I love this bowl scraper.
Okay. So
You need a paper towel.
I just wiped it off with my hand. So we're going to pop this in the oven, and I'm going to put the timer on 22 minutes and check it. Probably take about 25 minutes to cook it. But
Okay.
we're going to get this in the oven. That was quick, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was. All right, we'll get this timer set, wash my hands, and then we're going to mix up the frosting.
You took this bowl, Linda?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
You'll hand it to me.
All right.
Let me make sure I don't.
Bring the right back over here too.
Thank you, Mary.
Just a little. And what are you mixing the, what are you,
We're going to go ahead and mix the Oreo frosting.
right.
And I got to get this stuff out.
Are you bringing it over here, Linda?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And you can show them what I'm using, Mary.
Okay.
And I'm going to, I don't think we put vanilla in that, did we?
No.
That's all right. I don't even think I had it on the recipe. I was just going to add some in there. But
She's using 2 of these instant pudding, Oreo, cookies and cream mixes. That's what we're doing the frosting with. First time I ever used the instant pudding mix in the frosting was at Renee, my granddaughter's wedding.
Wedding, yeah.
That was the first wedding I ever done, and I used the chocolate pudding in with the Cool Whip. It made the best frosting. Everybody was wanting to know how I made that.
now, it does. It's real good. I got my bowl cold and my beaters cold. So I'll get the milk, Mary, if you want to go ahead and
Do you want me to
empty
put
that,
this in here
yeah,
first?
empty that in there.
And these are the 4.2 ounce.
Yeah, that's the big one.
These are the big ones, yeah.
And
not the small ones.
I want this to be thick. And in the recipe, you'll notice that I said 2 to 4 on the cups of milk. We're not going to put the whole milk in there because I want this to be thick. So I'm only going to use 3, maybe 2.5. I don't know, I may just use 2.5 cups of milk with the double. 2.5, 2 3/4, something like that. Let me know if you need some more. You can go ahead and mix that up, Mary. And we're going to put that back in the refrigerator.
I think, you know how I do. I just mix up things as I go, and I was making it frosted for that veggie cake, and I think I used canned milk. I think I did. That's the veggie milk.
So that was probably good.
But it's because that's what I had, because I carried all the stuff with me, and I didn't take any milk with me. So, you can make things do with whatever you got.
that looks like it's not big yet, but it will get thick once it gets cold.
Yeah.
We're not going to put any more milk in that. So whenever you got it mixed up, I'm going to just put the lid on and put it in the refrigerator.
Yep,
You think it's mixed good?
it probably is. It will get thicker.
Okay, so I'm putting this in the refrigerator, I'm putting the lid on it, and then we're going to wash these beaters and stick them back in the,
That's how it's strong.
yeah,
I'll wrap this up, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that was kind of like my meal yesterday. It was splattering everywhere. Yeah, carrot souffle, what do you call it? How do you say it?
Souffle.
Souffle. Linda, Carl, and I both did some more of it last night. It was good.
And Mary, I gotta get the beaters washed, but we're gonna go ahead and mix up some of this, and I gotta get some powdered sugar out to,
How much milk, how much cream, heavy cream?
you can use the same cup here. I think maybe like 3/4 of a cup, maybe. Thank you, Linda.
Is this dry red?
Yeah. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay.
We're probably gonna have to get some more.
That's enough.
Is that enough?
This is almost 2 cups. I didn't want but about a half.
It says it ain't 3/4. Okay, that's about 3/4. Okay.
No, it's 1 3/4. This is a 2-cup thing.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't want quite that much, but that's
over
okay.
here. Put some of it back in here. All I seen was 3/4. That's what it did.
I'm just going to use this for, it don't matter. If we have some left over, we'll just ditch it. Okay. So, we're going to whip this up real quick and put it back in the refrigerator. And we need some powdered sugar in because whipped cream is not sweet.
No, it's not.
It's not sweet. You have to sweeten it yourself. We were talking about, well, I guess I'll get this beat and then we'll sit down and talk about, we were talking about storms earlier. And everybody that lives in, Mary, would you hand me a tablespoon thing out of that top drawer, please?
A tablespoon? You're not talking measuring.
A tablespoon measuring. It's in the top over there, yeah. I won't try to talk over the mixer, but I'm going to start this first and then we can. My bowl is cold. My beater's on what my bowl is.
Yeah, those are in the stainless steel bowls are so nice.
Yeah, they are.
Beef.
After it starts getting big, you can add about three pretty big tablespoons in there, okay? I don't want it real sweet, but I want it to have some taste to it. And this is Imperial powdered sugar. And the other thing that I want that I didn't get out is that cabinet where the place the vanilla is on the second shelf or the first. The clear vanilla is what I want. That Watkins is that next one. Is that clear vanilla? Is that coconut? That's clear vanilla. Okay.
How much you want this?
About 2 things that I don't want to pour in there just yet. I think it's all about it.
The teaspoon got it?
And then the temperature screen is gonna have. Okay, well just pour it right. I want this
now. Okay, you're good.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's the weather has got the internet messing up.
And we're going to put this in the refrigerator just to keep it cold. And so when we get ready for this, we'll have it.
Okay. Okay.
So tell about the story. I've got to go back there and get a bag.
Okay.
And so tell about the story we were talking about earlier about Bert Burnett when when Linda's boys were little.
Yeah. This has been back with Linda's little boys. They were little. They were pretty little.
They wasn't in school yet.
Yeah, in Bert Burnett, and it started coming a big storm, and it was advertising, saying that there's a tornado near. We opened the door, and we seen the tornado coming. Linda, what did you say the boys done? The little boys?
Okay, so this was our reactions. The sirens was going off, so we were like, okay, we need to go to the storm cellar. My boys run into their bedrooms, grab their backpacks, and start stuffing their toys into their backpacks. Mama's on the front porch, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And I'm like, I gotta get my camera. And so, but we saw the tornado forming like this, and Mom's going, Jesus, Jesus. And then we watched it like a rewind. It just went right back into the thing.
It did.
But my kids were concerned about their toys. I was like, this is fun. Let's get this on camera. And Mom's praying.
Well, I'll tell you what, it did. It was coming, it was close to the ground, and it was close to us. And I wanted God to stop that thing. And we literally stood there and watched it go right back up into the sky. So, it gives me chills to think about it because it was so quick. And it was just, we needed it. It was coming toward us, that was, it scared me. But anyway, I'm not really afraid of tornadoes, but when you got one, you're staring it right in the face. I'm telling you, it's time to pray. And of course, Nathan and Braden, they was thinking about their toys getting blown away. I think Linda said because Bert Burnett, it gets the aftermath of all these bad weathers that comes through, and so it's like the weather changes, it gets real hot, and you can just feel it in the air, the winds are blowing. And Linda and her boys, they'd always want to go outside and play because the wind was so just cool and everything. So apparently she wasn't too afraid of it, I don't think. I'm not afraid of storms either. Of course, Linda, that's a different story. My sister Linda, she's always been afraid of storms. Not me, because I don't know why. I don't know why.
This is Mama going to the storm house, and this is me.
She's
right on her coattail.
And me, I'm stomping my feet aggravated because I had to get out of the bed because that's usually when it happened. Because I didn't want to go. And you know what Mama did? She'd wake us up and she'd say, kids, get your clothes on. We got to go to the cellar. We had to get dressed.
We didn't go to the storm house in our pajamas.
No.
We had to be fully dressed with our shoes on in case we got blown away. We had some clothes on. And I'm serious, y'all. Now this might seem a little lighthearted, but this was serious business. We had some bad storms come through Nacogdoches. Yeah. And if y'all know how storms move, and our Pink Paw did. I'd put him up against any weather meteorologist today, even with their equipment. He knew when a bad storm was coming, and it totally rubbed off on me. But when we knew that it was going to be bad weather, we were prepared. Yeah. We didn't wait till it came. I've got a 16-inch Wilton bag here. This is a 1M tip. This is a tip if you just need a few cake tips to decorate. This is one you want. This is one I use all the time. And I'm not even going to use a coupler. I'm just going to put it in the bag and cut the tip of it off. You can use a coupler if you want, but you don't have to. And I'm going to grab the scissors over here, Linda.
So you've already crushed up some.
I've already got some crushed.
Okay.
You want to make sure, I didn't cut that off quite enough. You want to make sure that your tip is cut off to where it's below these little lines, but you don't want to cut it off too much, because if you do, it's going to push the tip out, especially if you're not
That's-
using a coupler.
I know, that, I have a problem with those every time.
Most
try
of the
to
time,
use
I know
them.
exactly how far to cut it. And if you use the little bags,
Yeah.
I have some bags that I bought a lot of them at Tuesday Morning. Y'all know that's one of my favorite stores. They don't always have them, but they're called Sugar Bell. And they're the small 8-inch bags. They actually have a line, a perforated line that you can cut in. It shows you exactly where the tip goes off. But you want to turn your bag over. We're not going to do this until a little bit later. You can put this in a cup, or you can put it in a holder if you have all kinds of fancy equipment, which I do. But I think you actually bought me the thing that you put this in. But I'm not going to use it today. I'm just going to fold this over and put my whipped cream in it. And this is going to make real cute little rosettes.
Yeah,
And you can actually make more than one flower with this.
I don't
So,
know how much luck we're decorating with those tips.
I've got a few of these Oreos crumbs that we're just going to sprinkle around on the top. We're going to put one of these on top of the rosettes.
Okay.
And we're not even going to frost the sides. We're just
Okay.
going to frost the middle and put some of this on top.
Okay.
So, and our cake is going to have to cool just a bit before we do that.
Oh, that's right, because it's
But,
too hot.
yeah, so it doesn't run and melt. I don't want to open the oven door because it's still got 6 minutes before I need to check it. So, what other storm stories? I know we may have told this one before, but we moved to Mississippi in the summer of '65. Mary had just graduated. Her cousin Nathan, y'all have seen him and heard us talk about him. They just graduated. Charles got married June the 4th, and we moved on June the 5th to Mississippi. We just went for the summer, but we wound up staying for a long time. But our house at that time was vacant, next door to Pinky Mom, Pinky Paws. And Daddy and Mama, on the last remodel that they did, Mama was always remodeling our house, adding on it. And Daddy helped too, but Mama was always the instigator. She was the one that started it.
Right.
And so all you
Daddy
women out
actually
there,
built it though.
oh yeah, Daddy built the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, they built it without even a set of
Yeah.
blueprints. They
Yeah.
built the house. I guess that was common back in those days. But it was coming a storm, and Pinky Mom was hard to hear, and she couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
But she was aware during the night that it was storming because she could see the lightning flashing and everything. And the next morning, Pinkie Pie was in the kitchen cooking breakfast like he always did. And she come in there and she said, Lester, she said, I kept thinking you was going to wake me up last night to go to the storm house. Pinkie Pie had the funniest laugh, y'all. You would have to know our Pinkie Pie. It would make you laugh just to hear him laugh.
I know.
Mary, I spent the night out there. He didn't even bother to wake her up. He just went on out there and made sure he was safe.
He probably tried, and she wouldn't wake
I
up. or
figured he
something.
did try to wake her up. You know, when I was reading Mama's book, Mary, I guess I had forgot about this. Paul Lee their house got blown away. Did you remember that?
I didn't remember that.
Holly was in a house where their house got blown away in the storm. They used to call them cyclones back.
Yeah.
Instead of tornadoes, they called them
they did.
cyclones.
They did.
Got blown away by a cyclone. And the way weather patterns run, and I'm not a meteorologist, and not to discount anyone that's educated in that field. I know y'all go to school to learn what you learn about weather. But I learned from my Pinkie Pie. But the weather patterns, and you hear people talk about Tornado Alley
Yes,
in the
yes.
path of tornadoes.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you folks,
That's
that's
true.
real.
That is.
There's certain areas that it comes, and it comes over and over and over. When we went to Lufkin last week, go to ladies conference, and we was between Henderson and Mount wasn't it Henderson and Mount Enterprise?
Yes.
There was a path. It was at least a half a mile wide,
Yeah.
or maybe a
It
mile
was
wide.
a wide path.
Big, huge trees just blow down on both sides of the highway.
Just some of them just split in
Splintered,
two.
splintered.
It's just. I mean, it was bad.
And it's been through there before.
I know. And Kilgore has a path.
Kilgore
has a path that it comes through and it demolishes everything down that path. Trees, houses, It's just,
And it did that
It
in
has that.
Nacogdoches.
Yes.
Remember, as a rule, and again, y'all, if some meteorologists are watching us or somebody that's educated in this field, don't be too harsh on me. I learned at at Pink Paul's knee, or learned at the porch, him talking about weather. But storms, as a rule, come from they come from the southwest, right? And they move northeast, and that's usually. It's funny. Michael turned the weather on the TV when it's bad. He'll check, and Mike is not afraid of bad weather. He'll walk out in the middle of a storm. It doesn't bother him at all. But I put a little bit of fear on him these last few years. But he just didn't grow up with being afraid of storms like I did. But you can see how it's marching. He'll say, well, it's going this way, it's going that way. And I would say, no. He said, it's going this. I said, Mike, that is a long line of storms. It is coming right this direction, moving at an angle. But even here, last week when the bad storm come through, it demolished several houses west of here.
Yeah, and Cushion, that same one that was on 259 hit Cushion and demolished
And did a
people's houses.
bunch of stuff, and then it moves up. We're in Marion County, moves up through Cass County, Bowie, and on up that way, and over into Arkansas. And what is that town in Arkansas? Is it Camden, Arkansas? That it hits over and over and over again.
I don't remember.
So it is truth in saying that tornado runs in paths and tornado alley, and when you hear people talking about that, they know what they're talking about, because that's how it goes. So West Nacogdoches, and we were on the west side, but we were on the far west side. Highway 21 is considered West Nacogdoches, but it would come in from Highway 7 and move. So we got a lot of bad weather where we lived at, and it never blew our house away, but it was some bad weather.
It was one of the storms. We had just gotten in the cellar, and all of a sudden we heard just a loud noise hit across the door. And when we got out, it took a lot of weight to get that door open, because it was a great old big post from somewhere or another went right across that door, and we had just whoever the last one was, just got inside when that board hit across the door.
And in our area of the country, basements are not the norm. You very seldom ever find a basement in a house. So when Daddy built that basement in our house, that was way ahead of time. It was a really big deal. And I'm going to tell you, I can only remember one other day that I was happier than when that basement was finished, and that was the day I got my piano. We didn't have to go outside in the storm. We opened up our closet door and walked down the steps, and we never had to go outside.
Our floor in our closet was the door to the cellar. I remember that.
We had electricity down there. We had shelves. We had benches to sit on.
Yeah.
And
we had canned goods down there too.
And Mama stored canned goods down there.
Canned jars of food.
It was super. It's not done yet.
And that house is no longer, our house that we grew up in is no longer there. We sold it, and then they didn't keep it up. So they had to tear the house down.
Yeah.
And when they tore it down, the neighbors, they all seen that big hole in the ground, and they thought we had a wine cellar in there. It wasn't a wine cellar.
I stopped by there one day a few years ago and was talking to the guy next door, and he said, that big house was yours? I said, my daddy built that house, because it was the biggest house on the street.
Yeah.
Now this was after many additions. It didn't start out but 2 rooms, but then they kept adding on. And he said, y'all had a wine cellar. I started laughing. It was hilarious. I said, there wasn't never a bottle of wine in my mama's house. She wouldn't have allowed it, even if Daddy would have wanted it. But I never knew my daddy I'd never seen a bottle of wine anywhere near our house. But I laughed. I told him, I said, it wasn't a wine cellar. It was a storm house.
Well, I've lived where I've lived for going on 26 years, and we've never had any damage there at all. But one time, when little Linda was going to college, when she went back to college, she moved into this building on my property right next to me, and her and the boys lived there. And it came a storm, and I didn't even know it had gotten that bad that night. It uprooted 2 trees.
I remember that. Huge trees.
The trees, I can't even reach around them. It's how big. When Nathan and Braden, and they're what? They was probably 5 foot tall at this time, was standing, it wasn't halfway on the roots of that, you know,
It
that
was
big
huge.
round. It uprooted 2 trees. And this is the miracle thing about it. Linda's car was parked there, and a big trampoline, the boys had a big trampoline out there. It didn't even move, that trampoline. But yet those 2 trees over there was uprooted.
That was really something.
It was.
If they had fallen the other way,
And-
we would have been crushed.
Exactly. If they'd have fallen towards Linda, her whole house would have been crushed. Car and everything.
And if y'all, you know, reading the news and looking at the weather on the news, that's how a lot of people die during storms, is trees falling on their house or
Right.
their car. that
And
they're
this
in.
even makes it even more of a miracle. The trees fell uphill. They fell uphill
Yeah, that was,
instead of back going downhill, because we kind of live on a slope on a hill, and those trees went the opposite direction, up the hill.
and that was really
Yeah.
something.
It sure was. Thank God for that. Thank God.
It's, Jackson, you know, Mississippi had many bad
Yes,
storms.
yes.
The tornado at Candlestick, I know y'all have heard me talk about that, and that was as close to a tornado that I've ever actually been. You talking about the tornado going back up instead of coming down. Me and I was with Sister Pat Douglas and her husband. We were on South State Street. Those of you in the Jackson area know what I'm talking about. And it was right around the time people got off from work, which was right around 5 o'clock. And we stopped to get gas, and you could see that funnel coming right up South State Street.
I was at work.
And we were, I mean, I was terrified. I remember the dress I had on. Literally, I remember the dress I had on. I was that terrified. It made such an impact on me. We were standing out there kind of like you. I was probably froze, but they were praying. And that tornado turned. We watched it turn, and it went across the Pearl River into Flowood. And you know, that was the day that there was like multiple tornadoes that hit Mississippi and
Yeah,
Alabama
yeah,
and killed
yeah.
a lot
It
of
did.
people.
Candlestick Park
A lot of people.
was demolished. It was just demolished.
And it took hours. Remember how long it took y'all to get home?
On the freeway, because I worked downtown.
You worked at
They
Water
closed they closed the store. It wasn't closing time, but they closed it because the tornadoes was coming so rapidly. And I never had a car, so I was driving, so I must have drove Mama's car that
You
day.
must have been in her.
Because when I started home, I was in that traffic for hours, pitch dark, no lights on
Electricity all
anywhere,
everywhere.
pitch dark, and it was a long, lonesome feeling to be just alone, not knowing what if nothing may come through or not, listening to the radio.
Yeah, radio was
Yeah.
all we had. I mean, there wasn't even, of course you wouldn't have stopped at a payphone anyway, but it wasn't any kind of communication except CD radios if you had one in the car, which you
Yeah.
didn't.
No.
Mama didn't have one in her car. And I remember, were we still in the parsonage at the church apartment at that time?
The Candlestick Park, when that happened.
Because that's where a lot of the people
I
came, was the church.
You know what? We may have been. Yeah, I believe we were, Linda. I believe we were.
So that was the first year we were there.
Yeah, because we bought a mobile home from there, and we weren't living in the mobile home when that happened.
Okay. Okay.
Those little pans are so cute.
Aren't they cute? The cakes are
I
done.
made one cake in them, and I learned a
Oh,
lot.
you're there. Thank you, Linda. I forgot you were there. So I'm going to go ahead and get these off out of the pans, and so they can start cooling. We want to try to get them as cool as possible. And I think I'll just take them in here and put them on this rack in here.
Yeah, I made those little cakes, but I did use the little cups, and I learned a lot. I put chocolate in the cake in those little cups, and I learned that they melted because the cake was hot. But once it cooled, then that got hard. So I didn't like that. So I've got another idea what I'm going to do with those little cups.
See
I
how
know they
nice
come
they
out
come out?
real easy. Yeah, they do. And so I've got another idea of what I'm gonna do. And I may cook one of those one day and show
Okay.
you. It's, I just come up with an idea because if you put hot stuff in those little cups while the cake is hot, it's going to melt that candy or whatever it is you put in there. But then, it gets hard. So I know what I'm gonna put in those little cups, and it ain't gonna hurt if it gets hard. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be
So what
caramel.
little cups are you talking about?
Oh,
the little
cake
surprise.
things,
Yeah, the little surprise, yeah.
cups in those cakes, yeah.
We could show them the little inserts too.
Yeah.
I had originally thought that I would do that, but I didn't want to waste batter. And
Yeah.
so that way,
Yeah.
this is the little cup. And the way you do it is you turn it upside down.
Right,
And
right,
put the batter around
right.
it. And to show them how that's, you can do individual surprises
Yeah.
and that.
This, you put this down flat on the pan, and then whenever you dump your cake out, well, then you've got these little pockets. And you put things in these little pockets.
It's so cute.
It
isn't
is cute, and they're not very big.
No, they don't
They're
hold
not
much.
very big.
It's not a big cake.
No, and then when you put that other cake on top of it, it closes it. And what I put in there that day, it was all kinds of chocolate with a caramel inside, some
Okay.
of them, but it got hard. I
Oh,
put Reese's peanut butter cups in there, because it was pure chocolate. And when I cut into it, after it got cold, they were hard. The chocolate was hard.
Okay.
It was like eating a chunk of chocolate. But they was warm whenever the cake, right then,
Right.
if you eat it right then, it was warm and it just kind of melted into the cake, which that was good. But next time I'm putting those I'm gonna put caramel.
okay.
I'm gonna
that
put the little
sounds
caramel
good.
beads and then let the heat warm it, and then that caramel's not gonna get hard. And then when you cut it, it's just
That's
gonna
a great idea.
ooze into the cake. So that's what I'm gonna try that next. And then there's
And
another
then you
one.
got this, and you put it in the pan, and you turn it upside down like this. And this is just in one of the pans. You just do it one. And then when you turn your cake over, you've got this little hole.
Mhm.
And that's your surprise center. And you can put sprinkles in it.
Yeah,
candies.
anything- Right.
And then when you cut it, this is all gonna just pour out. It's so
And
cute.
you also can use this on the same one here. And
Yes,
then
you can.
Then you would
use
have
the same
one deep pocket, and this deep pocket is in the center of the cake.
Yes, you can use the same one. So, it's something cute and it's
Yeah.
fun for the kids. And I was real happy that they come out with something
Yeah,
like this.
yeah, I think it'd be
And
cute. For grandparents and mothers with small children, they would love it.
And
They would love it.
the good thing about this, most of my cakes I make are big. Y'all know they're huge. This is not a big cake.
No, no.
So it's great for like a smaller piece of cake.
Right. But if you fill
But
that pan
it
up,
is a
is a
nice
big- yeah.
piece of
and,
cake.
and those cake pans will hold the whole cake.
Yes,
Hold
they
the
would.
whole pan.
That was a whole mix plus
Yes,
that extra
yes,
sugar and flour
yes.
that I put in it. But they're not big like the cake
No,
pans that
no,
I
not like
use.
you make, yeah.
So, what other story that were we talking about the storms? Y'all know from time to time, and if y'all have read Mama's book, or if you started reading it, you're going to hear some of these things. Maybe not all of them, but you might hear some of them that Mama wrote about. I don't think she wrote about this story.
Okay.
But there was time to time that Daddy or Pinky Paul would rent a house. Our homes were in Nacogdoches, and we lived there all our life until we moved. But there was times that they would rent a house during fishing season or during the high of fishing season. Daddy fished all year round. Even in the cold when they had to break ice on the river, he fished. But or when there was some ice. Rivers in East Texas don't freeze over, but some ice, yeah, sheets of ice. Not anything that a boat couldn't go down or that he was scared of. But Daddy had rented a house 2 times like this, and this one time we had rented a house off of 21. It was on 1196, and when you're coming from Nacogdoches to Sharina, or it goes all the way over into Louisiana, Highway 21. It runs east and west. So Sharina, in that area is where our parents are from. and right across the river, you're in St. Augustine County.
Right.
Well, right before you get to the river, I don't know, how far was that house from the river? Maybe miles?
Miles?
No, the house that Pinky
Oh,
Mom and Pinky Pa rented.
Oh, it wasn't far at all. It was just right on top.
There was
We
a
passed by
slough.
there.
There was a slough between
Yes,
their house and
yes.
the river.
It wasn't that far from the top of the hill down.
Yeah.
At least I don't think it was.
No, it
don't
wasn't.
seem like
It
was.
wasn't far.
Because we just drove through there the other day.
Yeah, we did.
And that hill is just right there at the river.
And the house was on this hill. And so, it was not a good house. Pinky Mom hated it. I mean, she literally hated it. She wanted her house back in Nacogdoches, but anyway, she went down there with Pinky Paw and they fished and Daddy fished. And he had rented the house for us down there off 1196. And there was a storm. We didn't have a storm house at the house that we rented.
No,
off
no, we did
1196.
not.
It was a huge house.
Yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't a storm house.
But it was about bad a shape as the one Pinky Mom was
A
in.
little bit better, not much, little bit better. So the one that Pinky Mom and Pinky Paw lived in had a storm house just right outside the back door. And so it was coming a storm. We had either been to a school function, it was during the day.
I thought it was coming.
It was a church function
It must
or
have
a
been,
school
because I
function.
had on a white skirt.
We were
we were
dressed
there.
for something,
I thought maybe it was on the church night and we was getting dressed to go to church.
and we didn't go.
And we didn't go.
Because of
I
the
think
storm.
that's what it was, yeah.
So Mary had on a white skirt.
Yeah.
And for anybody that can relate to this, storm houses are meant to save you from the storm. They don't save you from spiders and crawdads and snakes and anything else that might be.
The steps going out into that thing was mud.
They were mud.
There
They
was
were dirt.
dirt.
And so when you get down in the storm house, guess what's in it?
Yeah.
About this much of water, crawdads swimming around in it. Now, Pinky Mom probably put them in
He
there. That was his
did.
baby.
He did. He did.
So Mary, we slid down them steps. Mary got mud all over her pretty white skirt. Red mud.
Yes.
Now, red, not sand. This was mud.
And it don't come out.
It doesn't come out. And Mary was jumping around, hollering and screaming. She never liked worms or anything to do with anything that crawled like that. And Edward, I'm pretty sure, was trying his best to coax these crawdads toward Mary's way.
Oh.
Mary was having
I
a
was
fit.
freaking out because I hated them.
But we stayed in there till
Yeah,
the
we
storm
did.
passed.
Oh, we didn't get out. No, we didn't.
We didn't, it wasn't no such a thing as, well, y'all go ahead and go, I'll stay in here. No, sir.
I would have stayed if they'd have let me. I wouldn't have went down there.
And then another time when we were at home, and this was, oh, I don't know how old I was. I'm almost afraid to even guess, but Daddy had kidney stones. He had them several times. And this was when we had a bedroom at the front of the house to the right of the kitchen. There was a bed up
If you
there.
face it,
Yeah.
yes,
They
yes,
eventually
yes.
turned that into the washroom. Yeah. But at this time, it was a bedroom, and Daddy was down in the bed with kidney stones, trying to pass kidney stones. Mama was just having a fit for him to get up to go to the storm house, and Daddy wasn't scared of bad weather. Daddy and Pinky Mom were not.
I guess that's where I get it from.
He finally just hollered, and Daddy was not a loud person. He didn't scream. He didn't raise
very
his
quiet.
voice. He was very gentle, and he was a man's man. Don't get me wrong about that. But he was not quick to anger. Daddy was not quick to anger at all. And he finally just hollered, told Mama, y'all go ahead and go. I'm not getting out of this bed, because he was hurting. He just didn't feel like getting out of it. So we have had so many times different experiences that we can tell about storm houses. We had one in front of the house at the beginning.
Yes.
And what they do, they would dig them, and then if they started caving in or something, then they would fill it in, and then they would dig another one. And the doors were wooden, and on the inside of the door, there was a latch,
Yes.
because, that wind would blow that door open,
have
so
to
you
lock
had to have a way to latch that door shut.
There's been times that we would forget to latch it, and that wind would just blow that door right open.
Blow it open.
And then we say, "Who's the last one in the door?"
So I think Linda had a story about the trying to get in with
Oh,
your
yeah.
babies that time. I don't know if you want to tell that or not.
Sure I can.
This was in Burnett
It
too.
was also Burnett tornado out where Carla lives now. I was smart enough to get out of there, but anyways.
And I followed you there.
I know.
That's how I got there.
We're trying to
Sorry.
get her out of there too.
So anyways, we each owned 5-acre lots. And so 2 houses down they had a storm cellar. We didn't, but they did. And they told us anytime you want to come, you can come. So it was hailing, sirens was going off, it was hailing really bad. And so we had 2 babies and a teenager. And we grabbed and we run across, you know, our yard, then the neighbor's yard, and then we get to the next neighbor's yard. They had already locked the door. And we were banging on it, but they thought it was hail hitting the top.
Yeah.
So we banged and banged and banged, and I thought, oh my word, this is how we're all gonna die. You know, they finally let us in. We were all safe.
Because when you're underground like that, you're listening
Yeah.
for, you know, for the storm to pass by, and a lot of times, you know, a tornado is different from a hurricane, so it's not like the eye of the storm, it gets quiet. But I'm going to tell you something. There's some eerie times when everything is very
It's quiet.
quiet
Yeah.
before a tornado
That's
hits.
true.
So they wouldn't just open that door
Yeah.
and get everybody out, kids and everybody out, if it got quiet. They wanted to make sure, and there was no transistor radios or anything like that back then.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
You just strictly went by what you heard and saw. But they would raise the door to look and see if they thought the clouds had broke and they had passed.
Yes.
The wind shifted, you know, it's going one way and then it shifts the other. And even to this day, and I did this morning twice, depending on how thick the air is and the humidity is, you can pretty much gauge by that how bad a storm is going to be.
Yeah.
And
She called me this morning. She said, "Mary, it's awful warm. It's awful warm out there. You you want to drive over here an hour in this?" I said, "Well, I'll just let me see. I'll judge it." And
I knew she was coming.
well, no, it didn't got too bad.
But it scares me if you're not knowing what you're driving into, you know, and you look up and all of a sudden there's a funnel cloud or
Yeah,
something.
there's no guarantee. I just.
I used to, when I was traveling, of course I watched the weather for days before. If I knew that I was leaving one place and going to another, I would watch the weather. And I remember that year, and I looked this up the other day, and I cannot remember what year it was that all those tornadoes hit Alabama. And I had been working in Troy, Alabama. And the way it worked with my work, we had 3 different counties that we worked at a time, and they moved us around.
Yeah.
We might be there the entire 2 months, or we might be there 2 weeks or 2 days, and they would move us somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I had got my travel tick, which is traveling papers and telling you when to leave and what time you're supposed to check in your next place and all that. And so I knew I was leaving. And they allowed us so many days to get where we were going, and sometimes we had days off, so we might have 5 to 7 days between the time we left the place and the time we had to start work in the next place. So I'd never been to Savannah, Georgia. So you know what? It was that weekend was Easter weekend, and some of you that were in the storms will remember this. And so I went to Savannah, Georgia, and I stayed at the Forsyth Mansion across from the Forsyth Park, and then I stayed at the Bohemian. I wanted to stay at 2 different hotels, and I spent the weekend in Savannah. That was the weekend that all those tornadoes hit.
Is that right? I don't remember.
And once they hit, I was ready to get out of Savannah. I was ready to move on up north because I didn't want them tornadoes to catch up with me. So I shortened my travel plans a little bit because it's terrible when you're on the road,
Yeah.
when it's coming a storm. It's very scary,
Yeah.
especially you're not knowing where you're
Right.
at and what exit you
Right.
could get off for shelter. And
Carla actually, she got caught in a tornado while she was in her car one time.
oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that was very scary.
It was 2 years ago, and I was visiting my daughter in Altus, and on the way back, we were right there where a tornado was coming down, and so we pulled under a bridge with about 5 other vehicles, and at first it was just rocking like a boat, and then I could feel the wheels in the back start to lift up, and I had already gotten in the back seat where Bradley was at, and I tightened down his, harness in the car seat real tight. Then I buckled in as tight as I could and threw a blanket over. I leaned over and was just singing and praying, and our back wheels actually did move about 10 inches or a foot. It wasn't where we parked it. It got moved.
Scary.
It was very scary.
Yeah.
And it didn't last very long, just a little bit, and then we went on, and 2 years later, which is now, just a week or so ago, I'm going back to my daughter's house, taking some stuff Mom sent to her, and I have Bradley with me, and this child is 5 years old, and he's looking around at the scenery, and he says, Nana, I think the clouds are trying to tell us that this is where all the tornadoes happen.
He is so smart.
Booger.
He was, but it was broad daylight. It was bright, and I said, but not today, darling. We're fine. We're going to be okay. There's no tornadoes today.
He is so smart, and for him to remember, he was 3 years old when
Yeah,
that
he was
happened.
3 years old.
He remembers.
And
He
do
said,
you remember when the tornado hit Fort Worth, downtown Fort Worth? Mama was living in Azle at the time, and I think that you were I think y'all were either in Memphis or either in Angleton, but and I have a real habit, especially when I traveled. I don't stay in hotels that much now, but if I was going to be in a hotel and the weather was bad, don't think I would not do this. When I was traveling and I knew there was bad weather coming in, the first thing I did when I check in, do you have a tornado safe room in this hotel? And I
She sure
think
does.
it was just good
She
sense.
does that. Yeah.
Well, this
It's okay. You're back on now.
so we apologize. We're using the same internet we always use, but it's probably the weather that's causing this. So if y'all watch this, or if it freezes on you, watch it on replay, right, Linda?
Yes, ma'am.
And you should be able to see it without any
Yeah,
interruptions.
it's the weather that's causing the interruptions.
And it's not, it's rain. It's not. We didn't get any bad weather here this morning, other than a little bit of rain. But we were coming through Oklahoma, and I think this is when I know it was. We had left Lexington, Kentucky, and we were transferring to Albuquerque. So this was in the early '80s, and we were coming across. That's 40, right? Coming across Oklahoma and into Texas, I'm pretty sure it's 40. Doesn't I-40 run through New Mexico and over into Arizona and Flagstaff? That's 40. That's
It
I-40.
might be.
I don't know.
I don't know.
So we were coming across there, and we were in, it was a used car that we had bought before we left Jackson. It was an Impala Chevrolet. It's a big car, but it rained so hard that it knocked the windshield wipers off of our car.
Oh my word.
We had no windshield
Goodness.
wipers, and we were driving, Mike was driving in this. I was petrified.
Imagine.
We couldn't see because we didn't even have wipers.
Oh, my
And the
goodness.
first chance that he got to get to an exit, he got off, and we went to a garage and had the windshield wipers put back on, but or put some more on.
Yeah.
And you have to use common sense and be safe. And this kind of caught us unaware. We had no cell phones or back then either, nothing but just the car radio. But we've had some experiences with some bad weather. We definitely have. I'm gonna check that cake.
Yeah.
I know it's still warm,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna see if I
Okay.
think that it's, because we're getting close to an hour. I don't want to bore anyone.
It's freezing. Oh, no, it's
Tell
gone.
them about tomorrow, Mary, while I'm getting all this stuff out
Oh,
here.
that's right. Tomorrow's going to be a special day. We're going to have some special guests on our show tomorrow. And we're going to be showing y'all. So we're going to be doing a drawing. We're not drawing tomorrow, but we're going to... video tomorrow. You're going to be entered into a drawing that we're going to give away. What did we say? The knife set, the pepper shell coated knife set.
Yeah.
We'll be giving that away, but we're not giving it away tomorrow. because we're gonna let everyone, you don't have to be watching it live. So if you watch a replay of tomorrow's show, you like and share it.
Without interruptions.
Okay.
Yes, you're back on.
Okay.
Okay, so, our pudding mix thickened up,
This is a pudding mix, the 2 boxes of mix.
and we didn't use as much milk as the
Right.
directions call for.
It's more like a thick pudding.
Yeah, so, if you use more, it's not gonna be set this much. And this cake is still a little bit warm. We're gonna leave the sides bare. It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it
Yes.
smells delicious.
And I'm gonna line
See,
that
that's a
one
pretty
up.
good size little cake.
It is. It's a pretty good sized little cake, and I think it's gonna be
Oh,
okay.
it's- oh,
You can
it's-
put me some on there, and I'll spread it around. And this is 2 packages too, and you can do the sides if you want to. I probably could have put a little bit more in between there, but I didn't. But I wanna put a good amount on the top, so
You want me to put you
yeah,
some more up
you
there?
can put some more up here. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. That's the only kind of frosting that Chuck
Chuck,
likes
yeah.
is the instant pudding. And with the I make just a eat a piece of it.
Yeah, it'll be good.
It smells so good.
If you want to smooth that out a little bit more, you can, Mary. I'm gonna get the whipped cream,
Well,
and we're gonna do the little rosettes.
okay. Yeah, that's gonna make it really pretty. It's hard to keep those scallops on there if you smooth it out too much because it'll want.
Okay, so this is our whipped cream. You want to make sure that you don't leave that setting out. You want to make sure you leave it in the refrigerator. And I'm just gonna put some down in here. And see, it's not real stiff, but we're gonna go with it. This is good in hot chocolate. Not any left over.
You may do this.
Yes, please. Oops, he's coming out the end. Okay,
I'll get that up.
thank you. You get the air out and just twist your bag, and you can use a Ziploc. I just happen to use these because I have them. Just make a round flower. I usually do mine so I get them even, and I didn't do this one this way, so they're not going to be totally even. But I'll do it like this and put one in the middle. Okay, Mary, you can, I'm going to put
This is the one you you're gonna
Yeah. It's a very simple little cake, but it's very tasty. And
I know it'd be good.
cake is completely cool. It's not going to do
Right.
this. If you want to get real fancy, you can put a little star right on top.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, isn't that pretty?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get a knife and cut.
All right.
Did you take a
Yeah,
picture?
that's what
Let me
she's
move.
doing.
Get this out of the way here. Okay.
It does look delicious. Smells
I'll get
just as good.
a knife and a plate. Well, I got a knife.
Are you
I'll get
gonna
a
use
plate.
this knife?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did have a few questions if y'all want to answer them while you're
Yes,
cutting.
Yes.
They want to know if the pans are PC, a Pampered Chef.
Yes.
Yes, they are. See, I'm walking in front of this.
They are Peppered Chef. And they got them. They're in stock. At least they was yesterday. The pans.
And the links are posted on our pages.
Yes.
And they want to know where you got the mixer.
The mixer is peppered.
Also Pampered Chef. It's a part of a set. It's called Flex Plus Multi Prep.
Someone commented that the surprise cake would be good for the cup.
Whipped cream's good.
Here's your spoon, a fork.
Okay, I got this off my hands.
Okay. Yep. Crawdad is crawfish.
Any other questions?
No.
I'll wait for you.
Okay. Jesus.
Yeah, got the one.
Well, you got the little piece. It's warm.
Mm-hmm. It's delicious. It's delicious. Very, very good.
It's not overly sweet because it's not
perfect.
buttercream.
It's perfect. It's
It's
perfect.
just got that light
Yes.
pudding. And you might think, you know, I want to mix up something. I don't want to go to the trouble to mix buttercream and it be heavy. And if you, this is something that I would keep in my pantry. I do keep in my pantry.
Yeah.
It's instant pudding
Yeah, I
and
do
pie
too.
filling.
I do too.
It's great for something like this. It's great to add to a box cake mix.
Mm-hmm.
I keep all flavors. I keep lemon, vanilla, chocolate. There's mint. What other flavors are? Pistachio. There's just a lot of different flavors.
Cream cheese. It's,
Right.
French vanilla. It's lots of flavors.
You want instant though. Is
Yes.
what you want. You
Yes.
don't want the box that you cook. If you're gonna cook it, you may as well make your own, right?
And, you're right. And we both have Pepper Chef pages, and hers is what's the name of yours? Pepper Chef page.
Pamper Chef with Lynn Peaks and Dalton.
And mine is Pepper Chef with Mary Lumen, consultant. So we
Y'all
both
can
have
find links.
pages.
Yeah.
And then we have links on our pages. All right.
So we hope y'all enjoyed this cake and our storm stories.
All right.
And we hope that y'all are safe. The storms will be moving east, probably already moving east.
Yeah.
So please stay safe. If you're traveling, make sure that you're aware of your weather conditions. And we hope that you count your blessings. And don't forget tomorrow. It's going to be something very special. So
special.
you want to
Join-
make sure you watch us.
Yes. Join us tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye. Love y'all.